The rain was a relentless drum against the windows of our Seattle home, mirroring the turmoil inside me. I'm Alistair, a 46-year-old software engineer, and until recently I thought I had it all: a beautiful house overlooking Puget Sound, a fulfilling career, and a seemingly loving wife, Bronte. We had been married for 15 years, a milestone I had celebrated just last month with a surprise getaway to the San Juan Islands. Or so I thought we had celebrated. Now the memories felt like shards of glass, each one cutting a little deeper. It started subtly, almost imperceptibly. Bronte, a vibrant and gregarious interior designer, had always been busy, but lately her work seemed to consume her entirely. Late nights at the office became the norm. Weekend conferences in Portland and Vancouver popped up on her calendar, and her phone, once an extension of her hand, was now a closely guarded secret. I brushed it off, attributing it to the pressures of her demanding career. After all, she was thriving, her designs featured in magazines, her client list growing exponentially. I was proud of her, genuinely so, but the unease lingered, a persistent hum beneath the surface of our seemingly perfect life. The first real red flag came in the form of a forgotten anniversary, our 15th. I had booked a table at Canley's, our favorite restaurant, a place we had frequented for special occasions since our early dating days. I had even arranged for a bouquet of her favorite lilies to be delivered to the house. But Bronte didn't come home that evening. When I called, her voice was strained, apologetic. "Alistair, I am so sorry, I completely forgot. I'm stuck in Portland with a client emergency. Can we reschedule?" Disappointment washed over me, but I tried to be understanding. "Of course, darling, work comes first. Just be safe." But as I sat alone at our table, the lilies wilting in their vase, a seed of doubt began to sprout. It wasn't just the forgotten anniversary. It was the way she avoided my gaze lately, the way she flinched when I touched her, the way her laughter seemed forced, hollow. I started paying closer attention, scrutinizing her every move. I checked our bank statements, noticing unfamiliar charges at hotels and restaurants in cities she claimed to be visiting for work. I dismissed it as paranoia, chalking it up to stress and exhaustion. But the evidence was mounting, undeniable. One evening, while Bronte was supposedly at a design conference in Vancouver, I received a text message from an unknown number. It was a picture. A picture of Bronte, her arms wrapped around a man I had never seen before, their faces close, their bodies pressed together. The background was blurry, but I recognized the distinctive architecture of Gastown, a historic neighborhood in Vancouver. My blood ran cold. The world tilted on its axis. I stared at the picture, my mind struggling to process what I was seeing. It couldn't be true. Bronte wouldn't do this to me, would she? I spent the next few days in a daze, consumed by anger, confusion, and a crushing sense of betrayal. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't focus on my work. I was a shell of my former self, haunted by the image of my wife in another man's arms. I knew I had to confront her, but I didn't know how. I wanted to scream, to shout, to demand answers. But I also feared the truth, the confirmation of my worst fears. When Bronte finally returned from her conference, she was full of apologies, blaming her absence on a demanding client and a series of unforeseen setbacks. She seemed genuinely remorseful, her eyes filled with tears. I wanted to believe her, to forgive her, to pretend that everything was okay. But the picture was seared into my memory, a constant reminder of her deceit. I decided to play it cool, to gather more evidence before confronting her. I installed a hidden camera in our bedroom, a move that felt both invasive and necessary. I hired a private investigator, a discreet and professional woman named Mallory, to track Bronte's movements and uncover the truth. The waiting was agonizing, each day stretching into an eternity. I watched Bronte, trying to reconcile the woman I loved with the woman in the picture, the woman who was leading a double life behind my back. The hidden camera footage confirmed my suspicions. It showed Bronte on late-night phone calls, whispering sweet nothings to someone on the other end. It captured her frantic attempts to erase messages and clear her browsing history. It revealed her carefully constructed web of lies. Mallory's investigation provided even more damning evidence. The man in the picture was named Kendrick, a successful architect who had collaborated with Bronte on several projects. They had been having an affair for over a year, meeting in hotels, restaurants, and even at Kendrick's apartment. The evidence was overwhelming, irrefutable. I had been living a lie, blinded by love and trust. The anger that had been simmering inside me finally erupted, a volcanic explosion of rage and pain. I confronted Bronte one evening, after she returned from another late night at the office. I laid out the evidence before her, the pictures, the bank statements, the hidden camera footage, Mallory's report. She initially denied everything, feigning shock and indignation. But as the evidence mounted, her facade crumbled and she finally confessed. Tears streamed down her face as she recounted the details of her affair, blaming it on boredom, loneliness, and a lack of excitement in our marriage. She claimed that she still loved me, that she regretted her actions, that she wanted to make things right. But her words rang hollow, empty of sincerity. The trust was broken, shattered beyond repair. I couldn't forgive her, couldn't forget her betrayal. I told her to leave, to pack her bags and get out of my life. She pleaded with me, begging for a second chance, but I was resolute. Our marriage was over. The divorce was swift and brutal. Bronte fought me on every point, contesting the division of assets, demanding alimony, and even trying to claim that I was somehow responsible for her affair. But I had anticipated her moves, and I had a team of lawyers who were more than capable of protecting my interests. In the end, she got nothing. I kept the house, the car, and the majority of our savings. She was left with nothing but her guilt and her affair partner. I learned later that Kendrick had left his wife for Bronte, only to dump her a few months later. He had used her, exploited her, and then discarded her like a broken toy. Karma, I suppose. The aftermath of the divorce was difficult. I was lonely, depressed, and consumed by anger. I spent weeks holed up in my house, avoiding contact with friends and family. I replayed the events of the past few years in my mind, searching for clues, for signs that I had missed. I blamed myself for being so blind, so trusting, so naive. But eventually I realized that I couldn't change the past. I could only learn from it and move on. I started seeing a therapist, a kind and compassionate woman named Alistair, who helped me process my emotions and rebuild my self-esteem. I reconnected with old friends, joined a hiking club, and even took a pottery class. Slowly but surely, I started to heal. One sunny afternoon, while hiking in the Cascade Mountains, I met a woman named Ingrid. She was a park ranger, a strong and independent woman with a passion for the outdoors. We struck up a conversation, and I was immediately drawn to her warmth, her intelligence, and her infectious laugh. We started dating, and I found myself falling in love again. Ingrid was everything that Bronte was not: honest, genuine, and fiercely loyal. She accepted me for who I was, flaws and all, and she helped me to believe in love again. We got married a year later, in a small ceremony overlooking Mount Rainier. It was the happiest day of my life. I had finally found peace, happiness, and a love that was true and enduring. Bronte's betrayal had been a painful chapter in my life, but it had also taught me valuable lessons about trust, forgiveness, and the importance of knowing your worth. I had emerged from the ashes, stronger, wiser, and more resilient than ever before. And as I stood on that mountaintop, with Ingrid by my side, I knew that I had finally found my happily ever after. Looking back, the rain in Seattle doesn't seem so relentless anymore. It's just a part of the landscape, a reminder of the storms I've weathered and the sunshine that always follows. Life had thrown Alistair a curveball, but he hit it out of the park. He took all the pain and turned it into something beautiful. I hope you do too.